On July 12th of 2025, we had our first market. I was super excited for this because it's one of those things I've always wanted to do, but I was always too afraid or things just didn't feel right and things just kind of got in the way of it. But this time, even though it was something small and it was at church and there really wasn't too many people walking in that day, even by the organizer standards, there are some things that we created for our booth that I think maybe might help inspire somebody else to also DIY that doesn't want to necessarily purchase from Amazon or just can't afford to. So I'm just gonna share some of our experiences as a handmade business. To start off, we have cat clothes because Magical Wiggles is a handmade gift shop for both cat lovers and their cats. So our cat clothes are beautiful and I love designing them, but they don't exactly look the best when they're just laying flat. So to help give people a better idea of how it would look on their cat, I decided to make little cat hangers. They were cat shape, of course, and they were cut out of just some cardboard and taped together in the areas that it looked like it was going to rip, just because of the cardboard type that I had. Again, that upcycling life can be a little challenging. And then afterwards, I just painted them all black. So it would be a neutral color to allow the clothes to really shine. Now, I know most people don't have cat clothes, but maybe this will give you an idea on how to display some of your items. Now, when it came to the jewelry, I tried to keep it simple and I just slit a piece of cork and just kind of made a little hole so that the card could stand up on its own and it could just be displayed without too much chaos. This next project, I ended up using it for bookmarks, but I think it can also work for the earrings. On this one, I bought a wooden box that had like little slits on it, but it could just be an empty box. It doesn't have to have pre-made slits. And when I got the box, I measured out how many corks I could fit from one extreme to the other. So then I could put the cards or the bookmarks in between, and then the corks themselves would give them pressure to hold them in place. So the hardest part about this DIY was really getting the corks to stay together, getting that glue to stick. So because the corks we had were plastic, then the glue didn't adhere as well. It really needed that extra pressure. So I ended up using some skinny rulers or even my nail filer at the end of each of those rows to help them stick together in place. And even then, some of them did break off, so I had to do the whole operation all over again just to get them to fit. But in general, they did what they were supposed to. By the end of it, after I painted them, then I was able to put my bookmarks in between. Now, what I did do originally for the jewelry was to convert a thread holder onto a jewelry holder for my little cards. So I cut off all of those the little sticks where you're supposed to put your spools in. So I cut all of those off with a little handsaw. Now, the best way I found to do this was to start off with a Dremel tool and then finish it off with the handsaw. I personally don't do well with power tools. My wrists are not the strongest, so I prefer to use the mixture of these two techniques to get rid of all of them, just to make them flat, and then of course sanding them so that it would look nice after. For the little edges, since I knew that my cards would of course slip forward, I used some popsicle sticks to hold them in place. So I cut the popsicle sticks, cutting off all of the rounded edges so they would fit side by side, and then using some wood glue, then I put them together and then attached it to the bottom rim of each of the ledges that I had. So that way they would stay in place. For this part, you will notice at the end when I show you the final booth, I did end up actually having to clip because of the wind power just knocking off the little things. But in general, I'm really satisfied with the overall look and aesthetic of the little earring holder. Then after I finished making that, I realized that I had the hangers and I had an idea of where to hang them from, but the issue would be the wind. How would I make sure that the sticks I was going to put them through didn't slide off from the string I had hanging? So what I did was make little stoppers. And my stoppers, they're really big because again, they were supposed to be for the clothes themselves. But I've also seen a lot of people that they struggle with keeping their things inside of the jewelry holders that they purchase from Amazon and things like that, because the wind basically flips the card up, so then it flies away. So I think something similar like this could be done at a much smaller scale where it looks pretty and of course it's budget friendly. Essentially, what I did is that I grabbed a piece of cardboard and I drew a flower that I liked, and then I used that as a template to make all the other ones. And then once I had all of them cut out, then I proceeded to make a hole down the middle using the stick that I was going to be inserting them through as my poking guide. After I cut them all to shape and I poked the holes, then I painted them. I wasn't too worried about the edges showing because I was also gluing on top of each of them a little bit of lace just to give it like a nice pretty aesthetic. The lace part was very time consuming, but I do like the overall aesthetics of it. So that is something that of course you sacrifice when you do DIYs. But at the end, you'll notice that the lace did cover the holes that I had already made. So then I ended up having to poke the holes through the piece of fabric using scissors so that then they could fit through the stick. And once I did that, then I was able to actually poke them in and just bundle them together on the stick itself to make sure that the hole would be big enough. When I verified that all of them were in there, then I just cut off the tip of each of those long sticks so that it would be safe. And in the end, they did hold up pretty well. I don't know that they were necessarily needed, but I do like the way they came out overall. You'll notice that in the booth that we created, we did a sort of L shape, and then on the other side we had all of the artwork, and I did have some cat models in the shape of a plushie just to help give some of the things contact. Now this was very much like just kind of makeup as we go, so next time that we do a market, which is actually coming up soon, it's going to look pretty different, and really looking forward to it. But right off the bat, just to also call out, you'll see that I use cupcake tiers to display my dog accessories. Then I used a pasta holder to display collars, a jewelry holder for the collars as well, and what appeared to be a paper towel holder I used as a scrunchie holder. Of course, the mirror is just a mirror. And then I propped it up the little bookmark holder that I made with another wooden box I had, just to be able to give it a better visual. Now, when it came time for the clothes, I did opt to display some pictures of my customers in a little rotation thing. I'll be working on something else very different in the next couple of months, so that will be fun. But for now, it at least gave the aesthetics, and of course with the beautiful silhouettes of the hangers. As you came in, you could tell that this was for cats, so there was no misunderstanding. Oh, can I wear this? Can my dog wear this? Well, it's made for cats, designed with the feedback of cats. So overall, I'm really happy with the turnout, even if the sales weren't exactly the highest. Just the fact that we managed to do it was a moment of pride for us. My mom, of course, she came along for the journey, and she's been super supportive of all of my different adventures, as well as my husband. So this couldn't have happened without either of them. But hopefully all these different DIYs that I shared and just a summary of how our booth looked will help give you ideas on what to do for your next show. And if you're interested in following along our journey, please be sure to subscribe, because we would love to have you along at Magical Wiggle Studios. Thanks for watching.